We security team for the hotel. Are we here? So that they can confirm to us. Maybe as they come, I would call a relatively short program. Welcome. Confirm to us that.
Good morning. My name is Jacqueline. I'm honored to have this event here. Ground floor. When you just go with the beautiful staircase, just up there, and we are here to guide you in anything that you need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now assured, and we can proceed with our program. So our program will be starting short. Anthem, then we'll go through prayers. After that, we'll just have some few remarks, which will take us roughly to about 10, 15, 10, 20. At about that time, we expect the CES to join us as well. So we'll have a slight break so that we could welcome him. Then after that, we'll continue with the rest of the program. And we'll be receiving remarks from our three principal secretaries. That is the Principal Secretary for Investment Promotion, Bubakar Hassan Abubakar, the Principal Secretary for Industry, Dr. Juma Muhwana, and we'll be also having a representative for the Principal Secretary for Trade. He's currently not with us, the PS himself, but we'll get his remarks through his representative. After that, we'll be able to have the keynote address by the CS, who will then give us the way forward with regard to how we'll be undertaking this particular exercise. This particular exercise started about a week and a half ago when the Cabinet Secretary officially launched a public participation process to be able to see how we can jumpstart or how we can further enhance our investments sector, our trade sector, and also industry. As we have as a target from the Vision 2030, the target is to have the contribution of investments to GDP by at least 30. Similarly, we also expect to have the contribution to GDP of the manufacturing sector to 15% by the same period. And we also expect to have also exports almost tripled by that time. However, if we look at where we are in terms of investment contribution to GDP, we are currently at 15%, which is below probably what we were expecting, at least by 20% by 2027. In terms of GDP contribution of manufacturing, it's also below the target. And we hope that with our discussions today, we can be able to jumpstart that process and see how we can move even faster in terms of reaching our target as per the Vision 2030. I'll be also your MC for today, but I'll be assisted by Regina. So probably at this point, let me call Regina to take us through the next part of the program. Now that we have PS investment promotion, welcome PS Abubakar, we could then proceed with the next part of the program. Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. As you've heard, I'm Regina Manyara. I'm a financial journalist with the national broadcaster, that is KBC. So I'm glad to be here, and I hope the deliberations that you've been having for the last 4 days are going to translate in having the business climate, not just in paper, but also on ground working. National. Let's guess.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
When you're still upstanding, I'd like to call Mohammed Diria to lead us in prayers, as well as Simon Tida. In the room, let them make way to the front.
الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
We are praying. Our dear Heavenly Father, honor you greatness for this far that you've brought us. We thank you for the gift of life and life that you've given us in abundance, even for the period that we were engaging with our stakeholders. As we converge here with our common goal of looking at our legislative and policy reforms, we want to welcome your presence in the meeting. And as we deliberate until we come to the end successfully, we shall continue praising your name, for we pray in Jesus' name we believe. Amen.
Please be seated. According to data and statistics, it indicates that Kenya has improved in as far as the ease of doing business, but the big question is that the reality on ground? And those are the conversations that you have been engaging in the last 4 days, and today we're going to chart the way forward. Interesting enough, when you do some research, I came across a fact that some of the information that investors hear, or rather get to read about Kenya, includes some aspects of our culture. So it is said, and I'd want to quote one report by a UN body, says that among Kenya's culture is that you have to shake hands firmly, looking at the person, and using their title. So the person you're seated next to, shake their hand. If it's a Miss, Doctor, Professor, kindly remember to do that, because it has been said that that's our culture. Kindly shake that hand. Shake that hand. There's a gentleman at the front here. Shake his hand. Please. Yes. Yes, we are post-COVID. We are fine with the COVID. That's when we were reluctant in handshakes and such. But that's the kind of data that we are finding on social media platforms online that talk about Kenya's culture. And culture is part of us. So as investors are looking to invest with us, they're getting to learn a little bit about our culture. Now that we're in the room, let's also practice it. So I'll want to hand over the mic to my co-MC and also the man who is heading Matters Business Climate in this particular ministry that is hosting us, to just take us through the rest of this particular program. Thank you very much. I'm Regina Manyara.
Thank you very much, Regina. Let me start by recognizing the presence of PS Dr. Juma Mkwana. Let me also recognize Hamed Farah, the chair of the National Investment Committee, but also our sponsor today from Timea, Africa. Let me also recognize Felipe Amato from the EU delegation. Let me once again also recognize Tobias from Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the acting CEO. Let me also recognize Farida from the BCCK. Let me also recognize Ola from French Chamber of Commerce. Distinguished CEOs present from both public and private sector. I can see CEOs from the state corporations under our ministry. You're most welcome. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Yeah, welcome to our climax of our physical public engagements that started on Monday. We started on Monday with a session on investment promotion. And I want to thank many of us I can see here who are also on that particular session for your inputs. On Tuesday, we went ahead and had a session on trade issues. And again, I want to appreciate those who attended. On Wednesday, we had a session on industry issues, and both for investment and industry were led by our PSEs. Thank you very much for taking lead in those particular sessions. And yesterday, we had a session on consumer protection, just looking at how we can address consumer issues as we also address the business environment to improve our investments, trade, and industry sectors of the country. Today, being the climax, we'll be able then to consolidate and hear together what are some of the issues that came during the 4-day sessions that we've been having. We also look forward to further inputs from those who may still have additional inputs to also share with us, and especially at the point that our CS will also be present with us. We are also still running our email address to receive memoranda proposals, and our email we are using is mitireforms@miti.go.ke. mitireforms@miti.go.ke. Would really appreciate your written inputs as well. We have already received quite a lot from the face-to-face engagements, but we'll also appreciate further inputs on those aspects as well. So let me take this opportunity to invite Ahmed Farah as our sponsor to open us up with some remarks. Welcome.
Distinguished guests, all protocols observed, I am honored to be here today in this discussion around legislative reforms and policy reforms workshop. Kenya's business environment, as we all know, faces significant challenges that hinder establishment of and expansion of our enterprises. The World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index consistently ranked Kenya poorly, placing Kenya between 91 position and 96 position, 91 and 96 position between the years 2016 and 2019. This is out of 140 countries. This index basically highlights several problematic factors, including corruption, limited access to financing, burdensome tax rates and regulations, policy instability, inefficient government bureaucracy, inadequate infrastructure, and security concerns, among others. As Kenyans, is our performance on Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. In the year 2003 edition, Kenya was ranked 126th out of 181 out of 100 in the scale. An Africa average of 33 and the global average of 43 as well. This indicates serious levels of public sector corruption that demand our immediate attention. However, as I stand before you today, I'm not here to dwell on these challenges per se, but also emphasize on the meaningful improvements that are possible and have taken place. We have demonstrated this capacity for positive change in the past. Under the now discontinued World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index, we made remarkable progress, rising over 80 places between 2014. This achievement positioned Kenya as one of the most improved business environments in Africa and worldwide. It's in this spirit of progress and potential that we welcome the renewed focus on regulatory and policy reforms. Trademark Africa, through support from the European Union, is proud to support this work via the Strategic Objective 3 of the Business Environment and Export Enhancement Program that we fondly call it BIP. Our overarching goal really is to drive reforms that directly enhance processes, improve service delivery timelines, and reduce costs associated with a wide range of business-related issues. We've already seen promising results from our collaborative efforts. The National Investment Strategy, which I understand will be launched soon, represents a significant milestone. The nearly completed County Competitiveness Index will also provide valuable insights to guide our efforts. Additionally, to highlight two critical initiatives that are underway. The Environment Reforms Management System. This plans alert relevant ministries on improving Kenya's performance in the business, what we formally call Be Ready ranking. While the next official assessment is slated for 2026, we are not waiting. Working through the Department of Business Reform and Transformation, key agencies to enhance various Be Ready concerns indicators. This proactive approach will position Kenya for success in the upcoming evaluation. In closing, supporting the outcomes of this workshop. The Trademark Africa stands ready to assist in implementing the necessary reforms identified during this week, aligning our efforts with the output of investment promotion through PS Abubakar. The path to creating a more competitive and attractive business environment in Kenya is clear. By working together, this is government, private sector, and development partners, we can overcome these challenges before us and unlock Kenya's economic potential. Let us seize this opportunity to drive meaningful change in our country and position Kenya as a leading investment destination in Africa. Thank you for your attention and commitment to this vital cause. I look forward to productive discussions ahead and the reforms that will emerge from our collaborative efforts.
Reforms are key for capacity building and Kenya has to be ready. That is what we've heard. Thank you very much, sir. Now, Kenya and EU made strides in as far as trading with the EU under EPAS. And we are now accessing over 25 countries within the EU. So as we're talking about how we enhance trade, and we've said we need to capacity build, I'd want to invite Trade Councillor EU and one of our main sponsors, that is Filippo Amato, to tell us, after these deliberations, what should we be looking out for? Welcome to the podium.
For investment, Principal Secretary for Industry, representatives of the private sector and of the various ministries, departments, agencies, all other protocols observed. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers and the Ministry for inviting the European Union here today and to commend you for this initiative, which is really timely and important. I would like to make two small corrections before continuing for the two MCs, because I've heard two small inaccuracies. First of all, TMA is our important partner. They are not technically the sponsor, but we are the sponsor of this. And we're very happy to support this event, which is part of the big program. And secondly, the European Union is made up of 27 member states. This is also very important, not 25. So two member states can make a big difference, particularly if they are big. So this, as I say, this public consultation has been supported by the big program. My brother Ahmed just explained briefly what the big program is about, but I would like also very briefly to remind you that this is a program that started last year and is supposed to last until 2027, 2028, a 25 million euro program. and it has three main strategic objectives. The first one is to increase and diversify the export of a number of goods in certain value chains that we have identified as crucial. Avocado, mangoes, which are very important for exports, and vegetables. But also flowers are actually part of this effort to increase and diversify exports. The second strategic objective of this program is about reducing trade times and costs. And you see in this very nice one of the main objectives of this component, the second component of the program, is to ensure a transition from air freight to sea freight, because of course this reduces costs, but also it also reduces the impact, environmental impact of exports. So this is one of the main objectives of the component 2. And then of course we have the third strategic objective, that is why we're here today, which is about enhancing the business climate. And that is why this program is called Business Environment Exports Enhancement, this famous 3E, always difficult to remember, but we have conceived and together with the government of Kenya, because we knew that we had this economic partnership agreement, and indeed it was finally
also to attract investments. That's the purpose. It's not just trade, but also investors coming here, hopefully using Kenya as a hub for the region, for the continent, about the continental free trade area, but also for exporting to the 27 member states and the 400 million consumers of the European Union. And so that is why this program is both on diversifying and boosting trade, but also on improving the business climate. Because the trade agreement like the EPA, of course, creates the condition already to improve the business climate, because investors, they have predictable rules about duties, about taxes, and about the regulatory framework for exporting and importing, but this is not enough, of course. This is not enough to attract investors. You need to work on the business environment in order to make sure that indeed the EPA can deliver all its objectives. And that is why we're here today, and we are very happy indeed to partner with TMA, which is an extraordinary partner that has achieved already a lot in facilitating trade within the region. We would like that also help us to facilitate trade, also external trade, you know, towards Europe, but towards any other destination, because the program is not exclusively to improve trade towards the European Union. And as Ahmed said, we have important objectives under the component 3, is the creation of this single window of business environment reform management system, very long to say. We have to create another acronym for this, perhaps. And also to prepare Kenya when it will be assessed by the World Bank. We have this Be Ready report, which is replacing the old Doing Business, and I understand the review will be in 2026. So we are self-assessing, we're making self-assessment to make sure that when Kenya will be under exam,
the Be Ready will rank Kenya among the best countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. And we really hope that these objectives will be achieved. It's only in the time frame of our program, and I believe we're going to get there. So again, I mean, of course, the European Union itself, with these companies, and we have a representative of the French Chamber of Commerce today, the European business community, we are already in a dialogue with the government, within and outside the framework of this program, to make sure that any issues that European businesses are encountering in doing business or in exporting or importing with Kenya can be addressed. We have submitted a list. We have discussed with the President Ruto already this list of issues. I understand that during this week you have gone through this list, and we are going to follow up with other meetings. This is a long process, but it's important to keep it going. Over to further cooperation in the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Felipe. And indeed, apologies, they are actually the sponsors, the 27 member states of the EU. And we also launched the EPA agreement, the Kenya-EU EPA agreement. It came into force on the 1st of July. And I know early this month, we also had a session on how we can go through the implementation. So we're very excited. We also take note that the Be Ready report is officially being launched early next month, though 2026, sorry, and we look forward to your continued of also participating and improving our business environment, as was the case in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. Welcome another partner, Chamber of Commerce of Kenya. Farida.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. CS Juma. Just to say, yes.
The French Chamber of Commerce, our EU partners as well, Filippo.
Good morning to everybody. And of course, not forgetting for Friday.
So all protocols observed. I'm just going to say a few remarks from the British Chamber of Commerce. And I'm really, really delighted. First of all, I would like to thank the Ministry of Trade and especially PS Abubakar. We've been partnering with PS for a long, long time. We have an MOU that we've been working with you through the other chambers and other associations on the ease of doing business. And we're also part of the CS's special task force committee that is there to improve the reforms of Kenya. So the British Chamber of Commerce, we are a membership organization, of course, one of the largest international chambers in the country. We have more than 310 members made up of British companies and also Kenyan companies. We really look at this relationship and partnership with Kenya as a long-rooted relationship when it comes to legislation, ways of working, culture, and so on. I know actually this week, our trade commissioner was here from South Africa, John Humphrey, who met with the CS and yourselves to kind of also strengthen this relationship going forward. So we're really delighted for that as well. Kenya, we all know, has been really, really close to all of our hearts. I mean, it is a strategic location to the whole region and the market. When we look at coming into Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, the first place when we speak to British companies is Kenya. And so, so-called, yes, we have really, really good advantages. We have really good skilled force. We speak English. Our workforce is so powerful in terms of the youth that we employ and all that. So it's really, really interesting to have that. Technology and innovation, we're really good in technology and innovation. We thrive in the region for that. And of course, our diverse growing sectors, agriculture, renewable energy, and tourism as well. So we're really looking strongly at that. When we look at the reforms and seeing how do we improve this environment, as I said, we've been working with the PS for the past couple of months. We've been looking at the cost of capital. How do we impact that? How do we reduce that for not only big organizations, but especially those SMEs who are looking at borrowing and continuing the work? The cost of energy, the cost of taxation, and one of our biggest things that we're looking at is the cost of transparency and integrity. Earlier we talked about, I think Ahmed, you mentioned a little bit about business integrity and Transparency International and all that. We really want Kenya to be the thriving country in the region. And I think we really need to combat that. Very, very powerful. And we are doing that with all the platforms that we have. So some of the ministers that we speak to talk about unpredictability when it comes to taxation. What are we looking at? We want a long-term national tax policy or a national policy that is going to give investors a plan. If they're coming into the country, they're going to invest. They're looking at long-term, they're looking at 3 years to 5 years, even 10 years, but they know that there's some sort of predictability, and I think PS will be pushing for this more and more as we go along the national tax policy. I'm not going to go into many other issues that we have. These are just opening remarks, but some of the things that we are looking at with the PS and very strongly, I'm sure, with the CS as well, would be the issue of VAT refunds, where we're looking at consolidating and harmonizing licenses. We were talking about the tea sector, looking at each sector and seeing how can we harmonize some of these licenses to make it easier for investors when they're looking at coming into the region.
And then the last one I would say is harmonizing EAC. Kenya we said, is a regional hub. So how do we then harmonize all of our other tariffs? We have a really good infrastructure when it comes to road. We have the port and all that. So how do we harmonize them of the tariffs? How can companies set up in Kenya and export more into the region, Uganda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia, and others? So those are some of the opening remarks. I think what we would really be looking at engagements going forward is regular meetings like this, and really grateful to BEEP for this particular program, and we as well as the Chamber of Commerce do have that MOU, and we can work with that. I would like to end with a really important and happy note. We have a trade mission taking place next week, and we have more than 40 UK companies coming in. So, PS, I know your opening remarks on that. So, what I'm trying to say is the region is still really vibrant and exciting for investors. So let's keep it that way. Let's create more reforms and see how we can bring in more investment, create more jobs. That's our objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is Farida, CEO of the British Chamber of Commerce Kenya. Thank you very much for that. We need to have a long-term national tax policy that is going to invest, that is going to inform investment in the long term, as well as the harmonization of the EAC common external tariff principles. Now, calling to the stage of the podium is the French Chamber President, and I want to give a disclaimer. I may not pronounce the name as I should. Othman Shawi. See, it should have been a problem. Thank you, sir.
Principal Secretary Hassan Abubakar, Principal Secretary Dr. Juma Mukhwana, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Othman Shawi. I'm the chairman of the French Chamber of Commerce, and it's a great honor to be here today, representing the French Chamber of Commerce as well as the broader European private sector. I would like to begin by recognizing and appreciating the presence of our distinguished PSs and commend that your dedication to strengthening Kenya's business environment through this initiative providing valuable opportunities for the private sector to raise its voice on the issues that affect us all. I remember 2 years ago when we had a discussion with the PS Abubakar, we committed to promote Kenya as a destination for investment, but we agreed that we first need to deal with the issues that are affected those who has invested here now. So the dialogue is essential, and we are grateful for the platform you've provided to foster deeper engagements between the public and private sectors. The ability to openly discuss invested in Kenya's growth and development. These companies operate here, create jobs, support local industries, and face the same issues that local companies are facing, whether local or foreign owned. Together, we are part of the broader Kenyan business ecosystem, working towards the common goal of economic growth and sustainable development. To illustrate that, one of the issues that we've been facing, for instance, and it's among the many that we've been having, the zoning of the pre-export verification of conformity process. As it stands, companies and its importers, whether local or locally owned or foreign-owned companies that are importing goods from outside, are restricted to opening their certificate of conformity from a single designated provider within each zone. And this system has created a backlog. The sole provider cannot meet the rising demand. So it's only fair for us to see how we can prevent that, because those bottlenecks hinder the smooth flow of goods into the market and create and increase the prices of the goods. So I think I'll just second what Farida has mentioned. Yes, indeed, we've engaged that dialogue a long time ago. I think we've seen the different aspects that are critical to the enhancement of the environment, immigration issues that we're facing, cost of energy, cost of capital, the complexity in the regulations with sometimes many regulators coming for the same issues, and tax issues that our companies have been facing. So I think it's now time for us to move forward, and we've identified those issues. Let us get to the next step and see how we can address them. In closing, I would like to thank the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry for your continued engagement with the private sector. I think it's something to applaud because it's quite rare to be seen. So thank you for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Othman, for those remarks. Maybe I will just say a small disclaimer. We'll be calling upon yourselves, both Farida, Osman, and Ahmed, when the CS comes in. But to move to the next stage, we were expecting to have Amcham, but I think they are not here. So Tony Blair, representative. GIZ, we had invited, maybe, okay. Okay, so maybe I can call upon Tobias, on behalf of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, to say some remarks. We'll be calling you when the CS comes in. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the PS Abubakar and PS Mukwana. Thank you for this invite and all protocols observed. On behalf of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I think I must say, we are quite privileged and honored to have this kind of conversations. About 2 years ago, we had a session with the president, organized by MITI. And through this session, we did have a commitment that in 8 years' time, we'll increase the manufacturing contribution to the GDP by 20%. And in part of that commitment was also to create 1 million jobs. As we create 1 million jobs, we will raise about 1 trillion in revenue to reduce the government deficit by about 3%. That commitment is still alive, and conversations like this attributes or shows the direction that we commit ourselves as a private sector in the manufacturing to take the growth of the manufacturing to. When we did that commitment, we did identify about 4 pillars that could support the growth of the GDP. And one was global competitiveness, because manufacturing is no longer a conversation that happens at a local state. It's a conversation that happens national, regional, and international. So one of the pillars that we committed is to have a conversation on global competitiveness. Look at the taxation and see what needs to be reviewed to create predictability. The second pillar was on export-led growth, and I'm glad we are moving in the right direction in terms of signing partnership agreements between our country and EU, EU EPA, AFCFTA. Those are good opportunities that will contribute towards increasing our export. The third pillar that we had a conversation on was agriculture for industry. And we are committed to looking at our value chains, how we are going to support our farmers, how we're going to link them to the manufacturing, so that we have production done from farm level to the industry. The last and the fourth pillar that we had a conversation on was the SME development. From where we sit as a membership organization, SME form about 52% of our members. And SME needs to be supported by all means. And we are committed as part of our strategy to support our SMEs. Distinguished guests, these conversations we've had since Monday are very laudable, and we appreciate what the ministry has done. Calling key stakeholders to have this conversation is critical. It shows our commitment towards making a change. So we have summarized some of the issues, and I will not delve into them because the technical team have highlighted. But one of the major issues around that is around taxation. Having predictable tax regime is crucial for any investors. The other thing is about levies and charges. The counties are also imposing a lot of levies. Other ministries or departments within various ministries are also imposing levies. This is causing a lot of unpredictability. Financing of the manufacturing sector is also very crucial. Pending bills, we have a lot of pending bills, those that have supplied. We have a lot of delays in VAT refunds. Statistically, the National Treasury or KRA is allocated about 2.5 billion, while claims go to up to level of 4 billion, leaving a deficit of 1.5 billion. So we need to have a clear conversation on how we can address some of these challenges that affect our manufacturing sector. The cost of energy is also an issue that we've been having a conversation around, and we allow the government in terms of investing and expanding lines to provide electricity to everyone. However, I would say that as we do this, let's ensure that the cost is reduced and made affordable. Transport and logistics are also some of the areas that we have identified that we need to have a conversation. Stakeholder engagement in public policy, and this is a sign that we're in the right direction, that we are having a stakeholders engagement. I believe out of this conversation, we shall have actionable items that we can measure and see we have made a step when we come to review. Ladies and gentlemen, mine is to commit and reiterate our commitment as an association to work with the ministry and to work with other partners to make industrialization work. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Tobias, for the remarks. Indeed, we have been walking this journey together, and we look forward to the continued support as we move on in improving the business environment, and of course enhancing the trade, industry, and investment sectors. Maybe at this point, I would like to also invite our CEOs. Maybe I can start with Nora. Nora, just a few remarks, just greet the gathering. Want to recognize you also as we wait for the CS just about to come, so we could use that opportunity to meet and greet. Thank you, welcome. Let's put our hands together for her.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nora Ratemo. I'm the Director General of Kenya Development Corporation. And we're happy to be here to have these conversations around business reforms, supportive legislation and policies that are going to be able to support investors in this country. As KBC, our mandate is to support investors. We basically de-risk investments, and we're in various sectors. We are in manufacturing, we're in tourism. We're also looking at emerging sectors like the blue economy. We work a lot with Kenya Association of Manufacturers to try and promote a lot of local industrialization, of course with the aim of creating jobs. So I think part of these conversations is, of course, to see how we make it much easier for businesses to be able to carry out their investments in the country. As KBC, beyond that, we're also looking at other sectors. Currently, is on. So we're coming up with what we're calling the Green Fund. The Green Fund is intended to go ahead and support businesses to try to start the journey towards a green economy. And I think that would be an active conversation we'll soon be having with all of you in this room. So as we think of also the legislation, I think that's also an important aspect that we also need to look at. How do we do responsible investments within our economy and our country, so that we also ensure that we also have a sustainable environment. So happy to engage and welcome all of you again to this session, and thank you the both PSs for leading this exercise. I think it's a very important exercise for the business community. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Nora. Maybe I could also call upon from Karibu. Let's put our hands together for that.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here as I stand on the protocols already established. And just to also add my voice to everything that has been said about the business environment reforms, is to also just highlight the issues that Kenya Export Promotion and Branding does towards nation branding. Because we realize that the issue of business reforms affects how our brand as a country is perceived, and as a result of that, also it also has a relationship to the investments that we're able to attract into the country, as well as even the trade that we shall be undertaking. So as Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, and in our role as trying to enhance the the nation brand, we have taken upon ourselves to take 3 programs into consideration. The first one of them is called the Made in Kenya program, where we're trying to be able to position our products from Kenya as being authentic, high quality, and globally competitive. And you realize that positioning has got a direct relationship with the business environment and the reforms that are related to it. So we are a partner in that sense, that we're trying to work towards a common goal, with the understanding that that goal also affects, has our country and how we can be able to position, because as you engage, you'll notice that really a lot of it has got something to do with lack of information. So maybe what we need to do is then push the information that is necessary for us to be able to appreciate the business forum, business reforms that are happening, and even the business environment. So as KEPROBA, we are quite excited to be part of this, especially in the business forum. I also want to mention that even as KEPROBA, we also are part of the export enhancement program as well. And from the export enhancement program, our objective is to be able to push value-added products in the areas that we are already, our strength in exports. We are basically known as being good in tea, especially in the horticultural space. We have tea, coffee, and also in the horticultural space. But there's now a need for us. We are trading exports from bulk and value-added and non-branded to be able to move it to value addition. And we are happy to partner with Trademark Africa and through the BIP program to move the narrative of Kenyan exports from being bulk and branded and also focusing on narrow markets to now making it globally competitive, value adding to the exports that we have. With the various stakeholders possible, especially when it comes to issues of shaping the narrative of the country when it comes to business reforms. So thank you so much for having us.
So thank you very much, Flois. Let me also recognize KEPSA, and also the chair, and also the CEO of Retract. Welcome.
We've called you
to the podium. I also want to recognize the President of Agayo, Ogambi, from the Kenya Shippers Council. Welcome. And all other CEOs that I've not mentioned, you're most welcome, and other guests that have come in after we have started. Let me take this opportunity, before I'm accused of not being gender sensitive, to call Dr. Kennedy Chelule from the Special Economic Zones Authority, the CEO. Welcome. Let's put our hands together.
Thank you, Steve. PS CEOs, all stakeholders in the house. I think it's still morning. Good morning. I'm Ken Chelule, CEO of Special Economic Zones. It's an ambush, but I'll try my best. I'm sure you know it's an instrument. It's an instrument for attracting FDIs, and Kenya is also doing its bit. I'll briefly say that SEZ, our role and mandate is to regulate the sector. We also are a developer of zones, and by and large, together with Ken Invest and other government entities, we do generally promotional investment within our zones. As we speak, we have a total of 38 special economic zones in the country, 8 of which are government. The rest are private sector. So these are purely private sector program. Even in the public zone, we onboard private sector to do business or to do what they are good at. These reforms comes handy to us, and it's a follow-up of what we did last year. We made some major amendment in the Finance Act of 2023, where we made some amendment in regards to market access. There was also provision that there was need to encourage backward linkages. And that market access facilitated that. There were further incentives such as exemption on withholding tax, particularly for the non-residents. And I think this to us is coming because we are continually engaging our investors. They've been giving us a lot of feedback, and those feedback, you will see them in these reforms. Why are we doing this? We understand that special economic zones are enclaves for for lack of a better word, foreign country within a country. So that means we need to minimize bureaucracy. We need to allow the investors to maximize their operations, their businesses within our zone, for them to be globally competitive. Therefore, the drive toward, for example, minimal licenses or one license if possible is what we aim at. In the end, Kenya government, like other governments, have introduced all these things for purposes of creating as many jobs in order to mop out all the unemployed youth, if possible, so that we can have the talent in form of resources. We have human resources engaging in some meaningful activities. As we speak, as an authority, we have a lot of opportunities for the investors who are here or those who you represent. Currently, in particular in Naivasha, we're offering opportunities to develop the zone. We're looking for partners to do infrastructure, build go-downs that will facilitate investors to come in. And where you are involved in direct business, manufacturing or other form of business, we also offer plenty of opportunities to invest directly into your business. We're lucky that following the successful campaign in Naivasha, we now have a lot of investors. I think we are closing to 19 within the last 1 year. And Kenya government has added land there. We initially had 1,000. We are now at 6,000. So these are the opportunities we are providing. By and large, we will be, if there are any reforms you wish to be included in our program, we will welcome. We also, in addition to what we've submitted, we'll be making further memorandum so that we can enhance. And this follows our continued engagement with our peers. Recently, we've been in Egypt, we've been in China, we've been in Dubai, and we've noted a lot of similarities with what we have, and dissimilarities for which we want to harmonize. I know there is an argument about racing to the bottom in terms of keeping our taxes, which we're trying to avoid. But we need to be at least at par with everyone else so that we are globally competitive. And I think that's what I have for this morning. Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for the opportunity. And I look forward to engaging with many of you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Maybe let me take this opportunity now to call Raymond Mwalenya from the Kenya Bankers Association to also give us some remarks.
Good morning. The PSS, Abubakar, I know you are my classmate. I'm proud of the work you are doing in the ministry. PS Juma and our partners and everybody present. For the banking sector, you know, we power the economy, so we are keen to just be able to ensure that the economic empowerment and independence, individuals, households, businesses, is at the forefront of what we do. So today, looking at this ecosystem, we are here to solve problems or solve a problem. And I know part of the problem is there's so much unemployment, our economy has stagnated, and then our revenues also have stagnated. So I think those three problems make us to be here to find solutions. So whatever English we may use, whatever Kiswahili we may use, whatever vernacular language we may use, or French, we need to just focus on those three problems: unemployment, how we revive the economy, and then also how we ensure that the government is getting revenue to be able to provide services. Another thing, I look from a banking perspective, I look at this economy in that we very much informal economy, and that's not good for all of us. So we need to find a way in which we need to move our informality into formal, part of which begins with all of us in the room. We have our side hustles, small businesses. Those are informal engagements. How can we be able to organize ourselves? Look at our side hustle as a venture that can be able to work with us for the next 100 years, 200 years, way past ourselves. For that, we'll be able to organize ourselves better. And from the banking perspective, we will be able to work with you.
So my message today is when you go back home today, convert that, don't look at it as a side hustle, a small business, but rename it as a family business. And then focus on how your children will be involved in, how your grandchildren will be involved in that venture. And you'll be a very good customer for us. You'll not have a problem on access to finance, because if your 22-year-old comes to the bank looking for finance on the business that you as a parent have been working on, we'll be very happy to extend that credit to your 22-year-old, because when you ask that 22-year-old, what experience do you have in this business? The 22-year-old will comfortably say, I have 12 years experience, for the fact that since they were 5, they were 8, they've been working with the parents and they understand the business and they're able to respond to any question around that particular business. So as Kenyans, let's model around family businesses. They'll help us into the future. And then also, even for us who are employed, you know, very soon we are going into retirement. And we've been blessed with good weather, good food, and good medication. We are living until 100. So what are you going to do from 60 to 100? We really need to have family ventures which are sustainable, and banks can be able to work with us. We can create employment without really necessarily looking at the big companies. Even all big companies in Kenya, when you look at them, they're all family businesses. Even if they have converted into public companies, but how they began, they're all family businesses. So let's not take for granted what we have within our ecosystem. Let's preach this gospel to our entrepreneurs who are small now, but they need to formalize and look long-term. We'll be able to solve our employment challenges. We'll be able to grow our economy and be able to raise revenue for government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is Raymond Malanja. From a banker's point, when we hear you saying we have an issue with liquidity, we are very worried. From an investor point of view, because the issue of bankability, especially where MSMEs are concerned. But my take home from that particular insight from Raymond Malanja there, the acting CEO KBA, is that we need to now convert those family businesses and make them formal. This is not just going to provide experience for the young people. You know, we have families, then when they go to the bank, the issue of bankability, if we can convert this to family business, make them more formal, then we can access credit, because the cost of credit is also something. Then we already have the ecosystem. We know our Asian community learned that secret way back, looking at our Kenyan economy. I'm not trying to point them out or so, but we're saying that those are lessons that we need to pick up and go forward with. Now, in light of matters of gender balance and such, would want to call to the podium Wamboi Mbarira. She's a Vice Chair Trade Secretary at KEPSA, to give us her remarks in regard to where we are at and what the private sector wants done to ensure that matters of trade get the priority that they require. Welcome, ma'am.
Good morning. All protocols observed. I shall not speak as Vice Chair KEPSA now, because I'm told I will speak again. So now I'll speak at the Retail Trade Association of Kenya CEO. I like to call ourselves the forgotten middle. I've been making a lot of noise this week, PSs, to both the internal trade people that I don't want to become others, because I feel we are becoming others, and really between Tobias and agriculture, nothing will happen if the retail sector is not a strong one. So we always have, and I mean no malice, Tobias, we always have KNCCI, then we have CAM, and then we have KEPSA. But really, we cannot have a conversation around trade without talking about retail and wholesale as being key. And yesterday, I was in a very interesting conversation with the internal trade department, and 2 people from the department did the presentation. And when they got to me, they said, so what is your view around what we need to do around retail and wholesale? And I said, actually, I have no view. Because it was amazing how much they already know as to what needs to be done for the sector. Yeah, so I just said, all we need is for you to implement everything that you've said that needs to be done for the sector. So matters of national policy, coordinating national and county government, looking into the sustainable labor, so that matters where labor intensive, how do we skill that labor within retail and wholesale to ensure that the people who are in it, and as Raymond said, retail has been known from time immemorial as being very key in terms of family business. All our retailers actually start from a family business. And the challenges of ignoring the retail sector are what brought about the issues of Tuskies, the issues of Nakumat, because we have not put in effort to formalize. I say sadly, the retail sector is looked similarly almost to agriculture. The thing you do as you look for another job. We have not given it the seriously it requires. And not to keep naming names, we have conversation with Floyce. In my personal view, you will not grow a country on exports. You will not, because the only person who can export a product is a Kenyan. A Kenyan can export a Kenyan product. If we take something that has been manufactured within a country and take it to a European country, for example, I like to use Cocoa Promo that is served in government offices a lot versus Cadbury's. If those two are on a shelf in the US or in the European market, what are the chances they'll pick the Cocoa Promo? What are the chances a European will pick Cocoa Promo vis-a-vis Cadbury? But what are the chances that a Kenyan who knows Cocoa Promo is Kenyan will pick that product off a foreign shelf? The owner of Tuskies used to tell me the reason he will not sell out Tuskies is because he wants to open a branch in Nigeria, he wants to open a branch in Ethiopia, and then stock Kenyan goods. Then the Kenyans in that country will partake of that product, and that product will then be introduced to locals of that market, who will then appreciate the quality of the Kenyan product, and then be able to demand more of that product. I use things that people put in their suitcases when they're going back to whichever country they've come from. They'll put in Royco, they'll put in our spices. So those are the things we've already exported, and we've exported them because a Kenyan carried it in a suitcase, went and made a meal for the locals of whichever country they're living in. Somebody liked that spice, and therefore, the next trip you come, you have 2 suitcases of that particular item. So I feel we need to look inward more to be able to strengthen the entire value chain. We provide a shelf that allows Tobias to manufacture a product and therefore give visibility to that product to the locals. How do we ensure to begin with that a Kenyan knows what is a Kenyan product and starts interacting with it, so that we are then able to say, we can now export because we've created many Kenyans who know what their products are. And when KAM takes the products to any of the countries where we've signed agreements with, there are Kenyans there who know that product and are able to circulate it and demand it and introduce it to fellow individuals in those countries, creating a larger market for exports. So thank you very much, my brief comment.
Thank you very much, Omboi, for giving us that brief on the retail sector. we maybe at this point, I heard you mention exports. It's a good point to also invite the CEO, Fresh Producers Exporters Association of Kenya, Bwana Hosea Machuki. Karibu. Let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you, Steve. Our guests, PS Dr. Mukhwana and PS Abubakar, all dignitaries in the room, CEOs from government and CEOs from private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Yeah, I'm here with my colleague Clement Tulezi, who is the CEO of Kenya Flower Council. We work very closely together. On behalf of the horticulture industry in Kenya, we are happy to be part and parcel of this process. We have been involved since Monday, and we are happy to be here because for us, a conducive environment is what we need for purposes of ensuring that our flowers, our fruits and vegetables get to the destination market in good order. Now, there are a number of things that my colleagues have talked about that are important in our business that has got to do with the taxation regime, the laws that we have. Many of them sometimes stifle the business that we do. And we are happy that government is taking this up to ensure that the field for us as players is very well done to the extent that we are then able to do business. Let's talk about the numbers. The horticulture industry exports about 150 billion worth of flowers, fruits and veg annually. The horticulture industry, the horticulture export industry employs about 350,000 people directly and supports probably over 6 million households indirectly. And we are just a small sector that contributes less than 3% to the GDP, but it has potential to actually contribute to 10% of GDP if the things that we request to be done are done. Now, I was going to address my two senior PSs here on a particular point. And I hope I'll be given an opportunity when they are back. We have in this room one of the exporters who has developed a new pack house. We were there on Tuesday to signify the completion of that pack house. It's just 15 kilometers out of Ngong town, next to a tarmac road, and there is a power line, and the pack house is complete. It's probably twice the size of this room. It needs to employ 500 people. They have literally been begging Kenya Power to put a transformer next to that pack house. It's complete. They can't switch it on because there's no transformer. So 500 people can wait forever. This pack house is supposed to do herbs and spices. The company does herbs that they sell to the UK and 6 other European countries. So we have signed EPA, thank you very much. But we can't move herbs from that pack house to Europe because of one item that the government of Kenya is supposed to deliver. We'd like to use this meeting as an example of how we can deliver something to at least one company in Kenya.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Raymond. Let us all be upstanding and receive our chief guest. Yeah, karibu sana Bwana Waziri. Yeah, karibu sana.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much. Now that our chief guest is here, we can proceed with the rest of the programming, riding on the protocols already established. Sorry for that, but we're back. We had given a disclaimer earlier as we are waiting for our chief guest that we're going to be calling some of the participants back to the podium to just give a quick summary of what has been happening for the last 4 days. And we'll start off with the British Chamber of Commerce, Kenya. That is Madam Farida Abbas, the CEO. Just a quick summary for our chief guest. Welcome to the podium.
Thank you so much. There was an ambush. The first one to speak in front of the CS, so thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, and so good. I was just commenting on Ahmed's attire, and I really like your attire as well. I know it's a Friday, so thank you so much, Bwana CS. 1 minute on what we can take. First of all, I really want to acknowledge your team, PS Abubakar and PS Juma. We have been engaging with them tremendously from the starting of the year and even last year on various issues of how we can improve the business environment for Kenya, for our investors. We know that Kenya and the UK have long, deep-rooted roots. The trade figure is 1.4 billion pounds at the moment. We really want to increase that in the coming years. We have investors coming in next week as well. And CS, I know you met our trade commissioner this week as well, John Humphrey, to talk about some more engagements about trade relations. So we're really optimistic. We just need a few things that need to be sorted and made it more easier. We talked about VAT refunds. We talked about harmonization of county and other licenses. We talked about how can we make it more simplify the EAC trade tariffs and engagement. So that's my 1 minute.
Okay, thank you so much. Give her a clap.
Yes. So calling next is...
Then we'll ask our colleague Felipe from the EU to... Yes. Again, also just give us one takeaway for the CS.
Thank you, PS. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, good morning again. It is indeed another ambush. And I will just summarize very quickly my intervention of before, saying that we're very happy to be here to partnering with the government of Kenya through our big BIP program. The 3E stands for Environment and Enhance Export program. We're happy that Trademark Africa is here today and they have supported this event along the week. We think that is important. We talk about business environment enhancement, particularly now that the EPA has been signed and is started to be implemented. Investment and trade are two sides of the same coin, so it's important that if we want to make sure that the EPA achieves its objectives, the business environment is enhanced. We have been in dialogue with the government of Kenya also through our European business community here to make sure that if there are any issues that are faced by European investors, they are actually discussed and addressed, and this is part of that. So we're very happy to be here today, and we are looking forward to continue engaging with you and the ministry in the coming weeks and months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Felipe. I think we can have from the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Honorable Cabinet Secretary Salim Vouria, PSS Juma Mokhwana, PSS Abubakar Hassan Abubakar, thank you very much. Distinguished guests, I think in a nutshell, we highlighted that it was an honor for us to represent the EU private sector in that forum. I think we commend the fact that we've opened a dialogue to try to enhance the business environment. One key comment I had made was that we needed that platform. Even if we are flagged as European companies, I think we are local registered entities, so we might have, we seem to have another jersey, but we're in the same team. We are working towards the common goal of economic growth and sustainable environment. What we highlighted as well is that I think we have had that pragmatic approach to look at the issues that we've been facing in terms of cost of capital, cost of energy, complexity of regulations, tax issues as well, and immigration on our side. And I think we would like to thank you for being a platform and a relay of our issues to the ministries that we would like to engage with. And we look forward to a pragmatic approach to that and more actionable issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Another clap for Felipe. Sorry, that's not Felipe. That's Osman Shawi. Sorry. Pole ndugu. Asante sana. So I think then we'll go to the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. I know you had spoken in another position, but now you can talk as the Vice Chair of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and also introduce yourself as you speak.
Thank you very much. CS, Karibu sana, PS Abubakar, and PS Mukwana. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll try and be brief. As I introduced myself earlier, my name is Wamboi Mbarire. I run the Retail Trade Association of Kenya, but I am also the Vice Chair of KEPSA Trade and Industry Sector. I will be brief because I think we will all be repeating the same thing as private sector when we give our remarks. And I'll start by saying the thing I said this morning, that only a Kenyan can export a Kenyan product, which means Kenyans must be educated to be able to interact and improve on the goods we have internally, and thereby improve the quality ready for the export market, and to be able to compete with that market. So there is a great need to strengthen domestic trade so that we become, because we are the bedrock of who industry and commerce and investment will grow on. The other thing I would want to mention is that this week has been very insightful in terms of what government already has in policy that would be the game changer for this ministry of ours. And the only thing we need to do is pick out 2 or 3 things that we then implement on what is already on paper, so that we are then able to move it. I was saying we listened to a meeting with domestic department yesterday, and they have all the answers to all our problems. And the largest one, I think, has remained multiplicity of taxes, has remained the non-alignment of county and national government. And I think if those 2 are dealt with, we will start reducing the cost of doing business, which remains one of the key elements of why we are very uncompetitive. Then, of course, there's always the discussion around the cost of doing business with cost and access to finance, cost of energy, the fragmented infrastructure that we have within industry, that all require that we get both governments talking to each other so that we are able to move industry and trade forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Wamboi. Thank you. The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Did we have a representative? I did not seem to notice that, I think, when we are. Okay, so we'll go to Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Tobias.
Thank you very much. Thank you, CS and the PSS. As Kenya Association of Manufacturers, I just want to remind us of the dream that we had 2 years ago with the President. And this meeting was led by MITI. And in this dream, we aspire to increase the manufacturing contribution to the GDP by 20% in 2030. This dream is possible. It's possible if the conversations we are having in this table today can be realized. Because through that dream, we will create over 1 million jobs. We will generate over 1 trillion in terms of revenue. And we will reduce the government revenue deficit by about 3%. So this is indeed possible. However, if these challenges that we face today, and Bona CS, if there's one specific challenge that you can address, then in 2030, we will honor you as a successful CS is the taxation regime in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think at this point, as you are aware, over the last 2 weeks, we have been listening to you. We've had a lot of submissions, both oral, by email, by post. I want to say that I've seen a summary of the issues, but in no way does that represent the final report. So I do know that the consultations are ongoing, but at this point, I want to give an opportunity to the ministry to do 2 things. One, to try and respond to some of the issues that you have raised, and 2, to maybe expand a little bit on some of the policy undertakings that may be going on within the state departments to address some of the issues that you have raised. So at this point, our colleague Alfred Kombudo is away in the US, still working on the strategic partnership agreement with the US. But I know that he has sent a representative from the State Department for Industry. I want to give you 3 minutes to represent the PS Alfred Kombudo. I don't know, is Ratemo here or who is representing? Okay.
CS, all protocols observed. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Alois Ratemo. I'm here standing in for the PS who is out of the country. My answer is to say that this is progressive, and we appreciate as the State Department for Trade. Because as you are aware, the State Department for Trade, the one which is providing leadership in trade policy, and already the State Department has initiated a number of reforms along trade policy such that we can be able to improve the environment. We have got also reforms around fair trade practice in the country and the consumer protection. Therefore, we look forward for input from this forum such that we can be able to improve the environment in which we are undertaking this trade. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ratemo. At this point, I want to invite our PS in the State Department for Investment Promotion, Abakar Hassan, to make his remarks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Salim Voria, Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, the leadership of the private sector. Member, I can see Ahmed Farah, who is a member of our National Investment Council that has been operationalized by His Excellency the President, and all the distinguished guests. Good morning. Mine is just to reiterate the message of His Excellency the President that Kenya is open for business, Kenya is ready for business, and it is safe for business. And this administration has made a strategic shift on a strategic intent, which informs our strategic direction and how we are going to transform our economy and on how we are going to improve our economic growth. We have made our strategic intent is very clear that our economic policy should be driven by private sector. Our strategic intent is that our economic growth should be powered or fueled by private sector investment. And there are three economic deficits that we are working on transforming, and that is the fiscal deficit, our trade deficit, and our savings to investment deficit. And in doing so, His Excellency the President operationalized two organs. One is the National Investment Council, which is chaired by himself, and the State Department of Investment Promotion under the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, with a goal of continuously and engaging the private sector to identify impediments to be removed and incentives to be created so that we can drive private sector investment into this country to supplement our public investment. You are aware that our public investment is stretched and strained, and the government is moving. We don't want to borrow because we have overborrowed. We are in a hole and we don't want to dig the hole further. So we are moving towards privatization, we are moving towards private-public partnership, and we are moving towards direct private investment. So our journey has been simple in the last 2 years. We've been engaging one-on-one with you guys to identify issues. Then we moved, the cabinet approved a formation of a business reform action plan development committee, which we also engaged you. But still, there were feelings that the private sector is not actively involved in our decision making. And the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Honorable Salim Mvurya, directed that we need to engage you, recast and retool whatever we are doing so that we can strengthen our private sector development. And that is why he has set aside a whole week for us to engage and come up with a reform action plan that he will pick it up for implementation. So on my part, just want to say that we are committed. Our commitment is that we listen and we are a caring government, and we want to work with you as partners to position Kenya as an investment destination. We know that before investors come, they look at two things: the ratings, and they look at the experience of the existing investors who are here. And you guys are our existing investors, and you are our critical element in our aftercare program. So under the leadership of CS Mvurya, we are looking forward to come up with an action plan based on what you have raised, and an implementation matrix that will guide our policy and legislative intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, PS Abu, the Honorable Minister, CS Salim Mvurya, our PS for Investment Promotion, Abakar Hassan, in absentia, our colleague Alfred Kombudo, who is out of the country, the representatives from the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, from the British Chamber of Commerce and Industry, from the European Union, my brother from the Trademark Africa, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the CEOs who are present, and everybody else, good morning. For me, I think this, what I would like to say is this really represents an important shift in the way we make decisions and the way we engage. Because as a ministry, as we've said, we don't want to pretend to have all the answers to the issues that you have. That's one. Two, when I came to make my presentations to this committee, I indicated that the manufacturing sector has many players. Quite often when you provide an opportunity like this, it starts to look like we are here to tell the government what to do. My take is the other way around, that really we are stakeholders in this sector. There are issues that will be raised through these consultative forums, and there will be actions for all of us. So there will be actions for the ministry, there will be actions for the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, there will be actions for individual manufacturers, there will be actions for farmers and other people that play a role. Let me thank the team that has been sitting through this, led by Stephen Odua. Maybe Stephen, if you can stand up, and the rest of that team. Where is the rest of the team? Can you introduce your team? Steve, just come so that we...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me start with our secretary, Honorable CS, Evelyn Anupi. You can wave. Then we have before us John Mukhwana. John, wave to the crowd. Then we have Redempta Oyeyo. We have Ruben Ngeno, Kennedy Nyoko, and lastly, Simon Tiller. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please give them another. Thank you. And so on behalf of let me thank again the minister, because the situation that we've been having, that has been obtaining, is that each one of you has been trying to come to the ministry with your issues, with your challenges. Sometimes you meet the PSS, sometimes you meet the directors, sometimes you meet the SAGAs, sometimes you meet the CS himself, and you try and present your issues. I think what the CS realized is that at that rate, we needed 100 years for all your issues to be presented. So what he really gave us is an opportunity of 2 weeks for us to comprehensively try to present our issues. And the response has been extremely overwhelming. Our role has been to listen to you, your issues, and the issues, again, of course, there were investment issues, which my brother Abu will be listening to. There will be issues of trade, both internal trade and external trade, that the State Department for Trade will be looking at. And then we have issues for manufacturing and industry that we will be listening to. But we also appreciate that there are issues that go beyond this ministry. So we have issues of energy, we have issues of taxation, and we have appreciated that we have cross-cutting issues that we will need to engage with other ministries for us to be able to respond. My take on this issue, one or two issues. One is that industry, trade, and investment is a complex area. It's also an emerging, it's always changing, and traditional methods and traditional tools that we have been using to resolve some of the issues may not work for us. So I do appreciate that technology is changing, that the world is becoming more competitive, that boundaries are closing down, so many more movements of people. That means, I saw one of the issues that you are raising is that Kenya, for example, is a member of the EAC. We are a member of COMESA. Now there is EAC, COMESA tripartite agreement. Then we have the African Continental Trade Area. If you're not careful, you get lost in all these languages. What does it mean? So as we engage with more bilateral agreements, as we engage on more multilateral engagements, we create opportunities for some people, but we also create challenges for others. I have already seen people that have already been protesting some of the agreements that we have under FTA for steel, for example, and that is to be expected, that as we engage into more engagements with trade, we actually may create opportunities for others, but also we may create challenges for others, and that is why we are here to look at this emerging environment, a changing environment, because we are dealing with a moving target. So the solution that would work 5 years ago will not work today. It may not work next year, and that is why this process of continuous engagement then becomes extremely important. From the manufacturing side, and we have already said it, that what we are really looking at is to create a country that is manufacturing for Africa, that is manufacturing for the world. And today we are working on many issues. I know that looks very ambitious, but if you set your vision somewhere, then you have an opportunity to really try and walk into that direction. So we are looking at a country that has, and we have looked at our opportunities. We have a seaport, we have a good middle class, we have a skilled workforce, So we have a lot of potential. And as a ministry, we have also invested in a lot of issues. Industrial spaces, both in Dongokundu, in the EPZs. We are also investing in issues of Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. So we have invested, we have a lot of skills development. Our TVET institutions are more than 5,000. We have done a lot of market access issues. The EAC market, the African market, the Kenya EU market, the Kenya UK market. We are talking about the US. But all these opportunities will not work if all of us are not in tandem, if we are not moving together, if we are not looking at how do we access this EU market that we have just opened, so that we don't open up an EU market. But when you look at data 3 years down the line, the exports have not changed. What it also means is that more investment in manufacturing, because you're not going to export what you have not manufactured. So as we agree that we have a new market for the EU, we have so many thousands of products, we have 27 countries, the issue that we need to ask ourselves is, where are these products going to come from? So part of manufacturing for the world, I think that the State Department for Trade has done its part. They have opened up the market. But are we as Kenyans upping our game to really make products that would access that market? And I think when I was listening from KEPSA, again, she raised important issues. That's quite often because of our different cultural perspectives. Sometimes it becomes very difficult for a Kenyan to make a product that would easily sell within the EU because of, if you're making coffee, maybe you're not making it the Spanish way, maybe you're not doing it the Portuguese way. So some of those issues then become capacity building issues that we need to address. The last issue that I wanted to say is our issue of manufacturing. And I mentioned it when I was talking to the team here, that our manufacturing has been structured not in a very friendly manner. When you look at the way manufacturing is structured in other countries, you have a few mega factories up here. Then you have a little bit more major factories below them. Then you have medium enterprises below them. Then you have small-scale industries. So that the way we become globally competitive is not for a mega factory to do everything from procuring raw materials to selling of the final product. The challenge that we have with our market is that we have a lot of major big factories, but there's nobody below them. So sometimes when we are discussing about the cost of our competitiveness, we zero in on government taxation and government policies. But I think that the way we have structured our industry, we cannot compete globally. When you have a major factory that is trying to be everything, that is not providing an opportunity for anybody else below it. In fact, what we do is we crowd out, we outcompete, we push out the small people. You cannot then create a globally competitive manufacturing environment. So part of the reforms, and that's why I said here that some of the actions will need to go to the manufacturers, that we really need to open up our markets, that we need big industries that are buying intermediate products from the small people. We visited Japan and we visited Toyota, for example. And we found that the Toyota company does not make a single product. They have outsourced their parts to 3,000, 5,000 people. You make a door, I make a steering wheel, another person makes this, and we buy it and put it together. So part of our competitiveness as our manufacturing is really to look at our attitudes, is really to look at how do we structure our manufacturing to benefit everyone. Because you cannot have a manufacturing sector that is not equitable, that is only benefiting a few people. It cannot work. So part of what the challenge that I want to move is to say that we need a manufacturing sector that outsources, and that way you cut down on your costs, you also concentrate on your core business, and then we all make progress as we go forward. And again, that goes back to the farmers. Part of the reason why you find a lot of supply of raw materials becomes a problem is sometimes the value chain actors, the farmers, find that they are not getting the true value of what they are selling to you. Again, that goes back to the equity that we are talking about. So if we are going to really reform and re-engineer our manufacturing, we want a manufacturing sector that will say the coffee farm, if the production cost is 50 shillings per kilo, that we as manufacturers do not push that below. Because if you push it, you push your raw material supply out of the market. That is why if you look at the last 2 years, if I use two commodities, look at maize. 2 years ago, our millers were buying a bag of maize at 6,500. Why? Because we have pushed the producers out of production. And then when the producers, because when the producers see that the 6,500, they come back into production, then you push them down to 2,000. If the production cost is 4,000, it means we are working in a very unsustainable, and there's no way that manufacturing sector can become competitive. So part of our competitiveness as Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Chamber of Commerce and Industry is to really to relook at our core values, how we relate with the people that we work with, including our workers. That if the workers feel like they don't own, they are not part of your prosperity, then we are not going to grow this manufacturing sector. And that's why I have said that the solutions that we generate here, some of it will go to the minister, but also some of them will go back to us so that we are really able to push this forward. With those many remarks, it's now my singular honor and pleasure to invite the Honorable Minister, CS Mvurya. Let's be upstanding to invite the CS. Karibu Waziri.
Thank you very much. We can take our seats. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My two colleagues, the PS Investment, Abubakar Hassan, and also the PS Industry, Dr. Mukhwana, representatives of the European Union here represented by Felipe, and also Trademark Africa, I can see Ahmed is here, and our friend from the French Chamber of Commerce, and also from the British government, the CEOs of different public and private agencies here represented, members of the Fourth Estate, and of course we want to recognize our partners, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, KEPSA, and the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm really happy that we have found this time today to be in this forum, and therefore it gives me a lot of pleasure to preside over this meeting on proposals for legislative and policy reforms for advancing investment, trade, and industry. I want to take this opportunity to also, on behalf of government, to thank the EU through Trademark Africa for facilitating this noble stakeholder engagement that started on the 23rd of September, and today is a climax because we are concluding the discussions today. Kenya's long-term development blueprint, the Vision 2030, aims at transforming the country into a middle-income economy. And the country has taken a lot of measures to improve both domestic, foreign trade, such as promoting structured commodity trading, identifying the unique needs of small traders, and creating market access through international trade agreements. However, costs and procedures for domestic trade remain burdensome. Export performance in manufacturing is struggling, and consumer protection and fair trade still show significant gaps across sectors. In the last 2 years, the country has witnessed increases in foreign direct investments and domestic direct investments. However, it has been noted that we still have constraints in the investment climate and business environment with a focus on entry barriers and coordinated investment facilitation and cost of doing business in the country. Over the last 10 years, our contribution of manufacturing has declined from 15% to 7.6%. This has been attributed to a number of challenges, including an unpredictable taxation regime and the high cost of power. As you may be aware that the business sector faces a number of issues and challenges which require concerted efforts to address and put the sector on the right trajectory. The government has demonstrated its commitment towards implementing legislative and policy reforms geared towards advancing investments, trade, and manufacturing. Our gathering here today is a testimony towards this commitment. The journey has begun, and all of us are called upon to play our roles effectively and ensure we complement each other. Ladies and gentlemen, this week has been dedicated towards ensuring that together we harness information on the issues affecting investment, trade, and industry. I sincerely want to thank all of you for the commitment and dedication that you have shown. The 4-day consultative meetings have enabled my ministry to gather information and proposals which will inform the formulation and development of legislation and policies geared towards advancing consumer protection in investments, trade, and manufacturing. This stakeholder engagement is in line with Section 232(1) of the Constitution of Kenya, which requires involvement of the people in the process of making policies. We have had engagements with the public, traders, manufacturers, investors, experts, the private sector, civil society, professional bodies, academia, religious groups, and other stakeholders that have submitted their proposals. The ministry requested for information from all stakeholders covering the areas on measuring to attract, incentivize, and de-risk private investments, both foreign and local, in all sectors of the economy. Rationalization of incentives to boost manufacturing, and also measures to improve consumer protection and fair trade. Measures to improve the performance of the export sector, foster structured commodity trade, and ease costs associated with domestic trade. We also requested information on harmonization of taxes within the manufacturing sector to eliminate distortions and provide a stable and predictable taxation structure, and also putting in place measures to consistently assure the quality of manufactured products, ensure consumer protection, and fight counterfeits. Ladies and gentlemen, from the 4-day physical engagement as well as written submissions from all of us, we have been able to consolidate the issues as well as recommend proposals. The issues have been summarized and categorized as follows. We have issues that have to do with attracting, incentivizing, and de-risking private investments, and we have quite a number of them there. I don't want to read all of them. We have issues that are classified to do with taxation, and because taxation is a major issue, I will just give you examples of a few of them. The first issue is lack of tax policy, certainty, and stability. I think this is the entire area of having a prediction on how you can structure your business, maybe not on an annual basis, but for a much longer period, say 3 years. We have also received an issue to do with multiple levies, fees, and charges by both levels of government. We have also had issues on multiplicity of charges and levies among trade facilitation agencies, introduction of import and export levies, and also delays in VAT refunds. The other issues that have been raised, which we'll be looking at short-term, mid-term, and long-term, will guide the policy formulation and other regulations. So I think in terms of categorization, we have also categorized some of the issues that require legal intervention, those that require policy intervention, and those that require administrative action. Furthermore, more categorization will be done based on, we'll be categorizing some of the issues based on the investment sector, the industry sector, the trade sector, issues to do with the consumer protection, and there will be cross-cutting issues that they affect all categories. So I want to sincerely acknowledge your contributions towards this noble cause. You have suggested key recommendations to enable us to realize the agenda of this government. My team, therefore, after this, will work on consolidation of all the inputs and prepare a business reforms action plan report with clear agreed issues and an implementation matrix to resolve the issues will be validated by yourselves before presentation to Cabinet and Parliament for consideration. Finally, I also want to say that arising from this consultation, I want to say that we will be having quarterly meetings with you, the private sector, not only to discuss challenges to be addressed, but also to progressively look at opportunities to be unlocked related to investment, trade, and industry. I'm saying this because I know the business environment is also very agile, and therefore we cannot claim that when we have fixed some of the issues, we go back home. We need to continuously engage so that if we don't have challenges, then we can open an opportunity for us to make progress, on a number of innovations and a number of areas that can facilitate investments in the country. I am very confident that with this structured engagement together, we will ensure a more vibrant private sector to position Kenya as a preferred investment destination and a gateway to the rest of Africa. I'm aware that we have had previous consultations, maybe not necessarily of this nature, but somehow. And I'm also holding some of the matrix. I have matrix from the EU, I have matrix from the British, I also have matrix from, the private sector in Kenya, the Association of Manufacturers. We have a clear matrix, and I'm aware that most of the issues that you have raised now and those that have been raised before are not necessarily resting within the Ministry of Investment in terms of providing solutions. However, because this is the host ministry for investments and trade and industry, I want to tell you that we commit to provide leadership to bring all the other agencies together, all the other ministries together, so that we can get an amicable solution to most of the areas that have been raised. Some of the issues will be a low-hanging fruit. Some of them will be very short-term. They may require just an announcement. Some of them will require medium-term interventions, and some will require long-term interventions. However, I want to request you that in all this journey, we want to work with you. Because we've had situations where when it comes to implementation, then we have a gap. We want to carry everybody along because our focus now is not just to identify issues, but we want to focus more on action and solution. So I would like to urge all of you to still keep the tab, to participate. Those that will require reforms in policy, we will come up with the draft policy. You will have a lot of input to it. those that require maybe changes to financial reforms, maybe in Parliament, we want to work with you to ensure that we get those resolutions together. So I want to really thank you for the commitment you have put, and I also want to thank the team, the task force that we put together. We are not disbanding the task force today because they have a duty, you know, to do a report in the next 2 weeks so that we have a good summary of what has come. Because our aim is that before the end of the year, we get everything together. If it is an issue that requires a policy, it should now be sent to Cabinet for approval. If we require any reforms that have to go to Parliament or maybe change something in the finance bill, then we will have to do that so that we get resolutions on most of the issues. As you are aware, His Excellency the President has profiled this country globally. And I think the country now, Kenya, is on a very positive trajectory. And that positive trajectory is an opportunity. You know, even when we have trade agreements to facilitate market access, when we also have our products here in the country, we also need to know that we need to up our game also in terms of quality issues and accreditation. And I'm happy that we already have a policy on matters quality, which is in good progress. And there are a number of other instruments that we are also working around to ensure that we continue to enable this business environment. I know one of the issues that has been raised consistently are the administrative procedures to conclude an investment initiative. That is also one of the areas that we will need to embark on so that we don't take a lot of time. Because if we don't need to approve something, then we don't need 3 months to make that decision. If something has to be approved, we also don't need to take 6 months on the same. So it is a question of this can be approved, this cannot be approved. And then people can know the kind of areas that they need to work on to make sure that they comply. So I think going forward, we will also be very clear on the key requirements, the key compliances, and we make them public so that everybody knows if you want to do an investment, these are the things that you need to work on. And then we will also work on multi-agency to ensure that everybody is aligned, to make sure that we don't take a lot of time on decisions that we can make within, especially when you don't approve. You don't need 6 months to put somebody in anticipation. Some of the businesses have taken loans. Some of the investments, they require approval to go and get security. So you see, when we delay decisions, we also delay quite a lot of things. So I think that is an area that we'll be working on. However, the government has continued also to look at how we can put incentives on areas of infrastructure, and that is why we have the special economic zones in Naivasha, in Dongokundu, and the others will be gazetting, and also the industrial parks, in the counties, so that we can also inspire the rural industrialization and the export processing zones to enable us, to inspire the manufacturing sector. And all these are being done so that we can make sure that we improve and grow our economy. So we'll continue to do that, but the infrastructure is not the issue. When you are doing a building, it's not the issue. But I think what is the issue is now the areas that you have identified, the administrative matters, the legislative, those are the key impediments to doing business in our country. So we will commit to work with you and to ensure that consistently we give you information. What I want to urge is that let us utilize the opportunity for this open door policy so that we can get as much as possible feedback on how we are doing on certain matters. So with those many remarks, I want to thank all of you for your commitment to the process. Some of you have been doing the physical engagements. Some have been writing memorandums. That commitment we want to acknowledge because you have taken your time to ensure that you respond to our call. Maybe before I leave, if we still have time, we will open the floor for a few question and answer session, if there are any, and after that, then we can conclude the day. Otherwise, I want to thank you, and instead of saying we are closing the session, but the consultations is open. You know, now if I said we are closing the consultation, it would mean something else. So I think it is this session that we had set for 2 weeks that we are closing, but we are still open to many of the discussions. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Waziri. Waziri has given us an opportunity. If we have 1 or 2 burning issues that you really want to ask him, and then after that, I'll ask Estangare, the MD of KEPS, to give us a vote of thanks, and we'll close here. So, any burning issues? Is there someone running around with a microphone? Maybe 2, 3 issues. Please give him the microphone. And be brief and straight to the point, please.
Good morning, Waziri and PSSS. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Ogambi. I work for the Shippers Council of Eastern Africa as the CEO. I want to talk about 2 issues. Number 1 is the cost the shippers incur for permits and licenses. We are in agreement that they are necessary, yes, but at the rates at which they keep up being revised upwardly is of great concern. What I'll be asking from the ministry is to possibly put a freeze on the fees and charges so that it becomes more predictable. But most importantly, Waziri, the government is the greatest shareholder in our businesses. We pay 30% as corporate tax. So it's in your interest or in the interest of the government to ensure that the bottom line is good. So we are asking again that if the government can enhance funding to the agencies so that they don't possibly have to go back and charge for every service they're providing, that would be a good. As a Shippers Council, we did a study on fees and charges, and we realized that we pay up to 30% of logistics cost for all these fees and charges. And some of them are even for services that should not be paid for. They're just administrative. But we want to agree that for services that warrant payment, then they must be commensurate to the services provided. And then lastly, Chair, is on exports. I'm happy you're talking about exports. We have a study that says out of 5 containers that come in, only 1 goes back as an export. But it hurts me as a Kenyan citizen to see that we are still imposing taxes on exports, and we'd like a review of the same. And then lastly, at the risk of being a preacher, is dollarization of payments. Why should our payments for fees and charges and services be pegged on the dollar, whereas the official currency in this country is the Kenya shillings? I submit, and on behalf of shippers of the country, we want to appreciate the initiative to improve. And then I also want to appreciate our friend Ahmed from Timea for the support they're giving to the sector. Thank you very much, and I wish all of us a successful meeting.
Thank you. Any other issue, comment, question? A lady there.
Thank you, Wasiri, for the commitment to support industry. My name is Florence Owino. I'm representing the Managing Director, East African Tea Trade Association. At the Mombasa Tea, we facilitate the Mombasa Tea Auction, which is the largest tea auction globally. And our plea, Waziri, is that currently a tea exporter goes through 52 steps to export a container of tea. 52 steps in 21 institutions. And when we benchmark with the region, because the Mombasa Tea Auction supports 10 countries, Rwanda has 13 steps. Uganda has 23. So this just frustrates tea exports and reduces our competitiveness. So if we could probably benchmark with Rwanda and improve efficiency and make our tea competitive in the global market. Thank you.
Thank you for going straight to the point. One last comment or question? Okay, none, so I'll ask the CS to respond to that. Oh, there's one there, okay. Okay.
Thank you, Bona CS and PSS. My name is Osea Machuki. I represent the exporters of fresh produce. There is something in life called asking for a neighbor. So allow me to ask for a neighbor. One of the exporters has built, and she's in the room. Where is Leah? Please rise up. Leah is from Ngong. She has built a big pack house. Because the cold rooms in there cannot run on generator. So, Buenos Aires, let's do this experiment. If you can facilitate, I know it's from a different ministry, but this is about trade. If you can facilitate the transformer to be on site on Monday, we will invite you on Tuesday to cut the tip of that pack house. Thank you.
Asking for a neighbor. Okay, I'm hearing that for the first time. So let me ask then the CS to respond to that.
Okay, thank you very much, Machuki, yeah, and Leah. I have heard you. We will organize with our other ministry about the transformer. I'm actually interested to visit, so I will fast track this so that I can visit soon to see what you are doing there. I've been asked to repeat. I thought I had. I've been asked to say it again. So, what I'm saying, Machuki and Leah, and I think you need to be thanked for talking on behalf of your neighbor. Is that we've heard you about the issue of the transformer. We'll work together with my colleague in energy to resolve that. And I have registered personal interest to visit. So my visit will come after it is installed, and it has to be very soon. I think Ogambi, on the issue of shippers, I think you also knew that I just came from shipping and maritime just the other day, and I'm aware of most of the issues that you have raised. I also know there are instruments that are in draft in the Ministry of Blue Economy and Maritime. So we'll be consolidating this issue and seeing how it's going to be addressed in the areas that our colleagues are developing. Florence from the East Africa Tea Trade Association, 52 steps in Kenya, less steps in Uganda and Rwanda, more institutions in Kenya, less institutions in other countries, makes our country very uncompetitive on this product. And those are the issues that I was referring earlier, that we need to review and address so that we become facilitative to the business. So part of what we are going to do is to work with the team here to ensure that we can see what to remove to make the steps in the process of exporting tea much more facilitative and much more enhanced. So we commit to work with you to resolve that matter. It might not be an announcement. It will take a number of administrative consultations to make the final conclusion. But ultimately, we will do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me ask Esther to give us a vote of thanks, then we will have a photo session.
The Cabinet Secretary, the PS Industry, and PS Investment. My work is very easy, is to thank everybody for having been here. My name is Esther Ngari, the Managing Director for Kenya Bureau of Standards, and Kenya Bureau of Standards sits at the very core of trade facilitation as well as consumer protection. I wish to thank the Cabinet Secretary for the very good work that he is doing and leading this ministry in ensuring that our businesses are competitive as well as creating that environment that is required. Our PS, thank you so much, PS Industry and PS Investment, for the very good work that you are doing. I wish to thank the representatives of the EU, the British government, and the French government. Thank you so much. I wish to thank the chairman of the various agencies who have come for this engagement. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to recognize my chairman who is here, Anthony Munyiri. Thank you so much. I wish to thank all the CEOs from the private sector and from the government who are here. Thank you so much for being here in this process. I wish to recognize the committee led by Odua for the very good work that you have started, and we want to see this work get into completion. I want to thank all the stakeholders who are here present and all those who have participated in the 2-week program. Thank you so much, because if you didn't give your input, we would not be here and we will not see the completion of this whole process. Thank you so much for your participation. And your participation will see a very, the end of this process, and we'll be able to get the input we need for this process to make our business environment very competitive, as well as have a vibrant industry in the country. And thank you so much, even for all the comments you have given. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you so much, our Cabinet Secretary. We are behind you, we'll support you, and this process will be successful because of your great leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Asante sana. I think on that note, we will bring this session to an end. There will be a photo session on the steps of the entry of the hotel, and I'm told there will be a media briefing after this, so you are all invited. Thank you. Asante. So if we can allow the CS and his team to exit, then we can follow.
A point to note is that after the photo session with our chief guests and the PSs, we will be having a media brief at the VIP at the far end for the media, the members of the Fourth Estate, for any clarification that they may have concerning today's event. The rest of us are invited for lunch. The VIPs are expected at the hall. The rest of us are going to be partaking in the meal right outside where we had our breakfast. Thank you very much for your indulgence.